An 11-year-old Iraqi boy reveals details of what he had to endure while being held in an ISIL prison for children for 8 months. The Dutch Prime Minister says that the Netherlands could block an association agreement between the EU and Ukraine. That's after voters reject the deal in a nationwide referendum.
As you can see for yourself, the place it's been through hell. The artillery barrages that hit this place, they were powerful.
And the ceasefire between Azerbaijan and ethnic Armenians enters its 3rd day amid renewed international efforts to prevent new violence. Good to have you with us this hour. My name is Neil Harvey and you're watching RT International. Islamic State has become synonymous with carrying out horrific atrocities, and age has been no barrier to the so-called justice that's been handed out. One 11-year-old Iraqi boy from a Yazidi minority was kept in an ISIL prison in the city of Tal Afar for 8 months. The boy, Ayman Sharaf Haji, spoke exclusively to the Sputnik news agency.
داشاد أم مالدا ودركتن أم قرتن أم جيجي برنا بعاج نبود دقيقة كي
إيه
خار كامو قش خالا من هر دوراكرن قام جابرين ومقلقي خد السيام وبيشتي بقى دروجة برن مدرسات الأحفر أزود ديكا خوريب جنة وبسر تراقي خد نفست يام القاعدين نفست تانكي هذا الميستنوها وشمر تاني فانجي بعضا تلفونك جديد ونقادي قومي بايفين السيم كارتاتي ده تلفون ما مالي كرن وداعش كرن هكاني دانكي كامل برتواليتي ده بصوها بيشتي ويكي مسنوك خليفة
كم ساعة دمك يعني تقريبا كم دمك؟
ساعة حشتي سبي حتى ينزي
يعني
ينزل بيشتي ويكي دراني خليفة هاد مصنوان الدسوان الساشد أوس أو الشداندن
شداندن؟
أري كلمة الشداندن وداري ليتان نف مهمية قران وجوا بازا تلفون باوا بواناني جوان بيستر جوات كان نتشتكى ما فان كرا
من كم عسكري داوه؟
والسدبو
حمو بيجوكو
أري
دي باشا ومعسكري ده چی دی نشا مثلا نشاط که ما عدا دینیان
سعد دون زي نشيفي هذا كتابك القرآن يعني هاتشي نزاني با هاتشي قريباجي في لنا وليتا شش دار ليتا حقي خد خواه يجي بشمله بو ورابا أسرابو وناتو قويتي رابو جيجيكي كليش خوبر بانيكي قوارا فيدلتي شش دار ليلان هاد بام مديني دستادا من رجفي والسولو.
According to a UN report, in the Iraqi city of Mosul alone, almost 1,000 children have been abducted by ISIL. The Kurdish minority of Yazidis has been deliberately targeted by the terrorists. Human Rights Watch says that between 3,000 and 5,000 Yazidi women are held by the terrorists. Girls as young as 8 are said to be used as sex slaves and traded between militants. We spoke to Skye Wheeler. She's a women's rights researcher at Human Rights Watch. She believes that there are sufficient grounds to say that ISIL perpetrates genocide against the Yazidis.
ISIS continues to treat these women that they abducted abhorrently, including raping them, buying and selling them between different fighters and other members of ISIS, and also forcibly converting them and sometimes locking them in rooms, sometimes for days or even months. We have interviewed a good number of girls who were abducted by ISIS, and they were treated more or less the same way that unmarried adult women. The attacks on women, the repeated sexual slavery, this is all good evidence that could be used in a case of genocide.
With the Panama Papers scandal gaining ever more traction around the world, WikiLeaks has questioned the impartiality of those behind the revelations. The organisation believes that the US government funded the Panama Papers expose with the intention of attacking Russia and its president. WikiLeaks says that the revelations come from an American organisation it describes as having done good work in the past, but questions its funding by the US government and the motivation behind its attack on Putin. Tumelo Matatoane looks at what the accusations are based on.
Mossack Fonseca is a Panama-based offshore law firm. More than a year ago, an anonymous source passed 2.6 terabytes of the firm's data through a German newspaper to the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists. But what is the ICIJ? A DC-based organization sponsored by, among others, the Open Society Foundation. And remember that name. Well, to sort through the Panama Papers, the ICIJ in turn distributed the files among affiliated journalists and organizations. And this one received the documents relating to Eastern Europe.
We were contacted by the ICIJ. We've been collaborating with them for a long time with a request to prepare part of the investigation on Eastern Europe and Eurasia, and we agreed.
The Organized Crimes and Corruption Report Project. Now, what is the OCCRP? Here's one of their flagship materials. They named Vladimir Putin Anti-Person of the Year way back in 2014. And that's exactly the organization that WikiLeaks is concerned about over its role in the investigation. But why? Well, let's backtrack a bit. The OCCRP is funded directly by the US government via an organization called USAID, as well as by the Open Society Foundation run by billionaire George Soros. Remember, that's the same group that partly funds the ICIJ. Now, what are USAID and the Open Society famous for?
Anytime you see anything funded by Washington, directly or indirectly, you know that you are permitting Washington to undermine your own country.
His influence is beyond global. The Panama Papers might be a pushback from Soros for Russia last year, banning a number of American non-governmental organizations.
And so it seems that pretty much none of the recent revolutions went ahead without some sort of involvement from American NGOs. While the OCCRP does not even hide its anti-Russian stance. And this is why WikiLeaks thinks that its involvement in the attack on Putin undermines the investigation's credibility. Tumelo Matatoane, RT.
We asked former MI5 agent Annie Machon about the anti-Russia rhetoric that's dominated the headlines over the Panama leaks.
This trove of information apparently contains 11.5 million documents, over 2 terabytes of information, and yet only, I think it's about 149 or 150 have been released to date. Now, this is incredibly frustrating. When I first saw the story break in The Guardian, I immediately was quite suspicious because the headline story was about Putin. And yet, in fact, none of the Panama Papers talk about Vladimir Putin. He hasn't put his name to anything. And I think, in a way, the story is sort of slightly run out of the control of the journalists who broke it, because they still, in The Guardian, have this sort of guide to how to hide your billions offshore, and that's a video about Putin and his family and his friends.